Hi guys, it is I, Tatiana, back at it again to suffer. For today's video, I am going to be reviewing Stones to Abbigale. Onision is going around striking videos, blocking videos that fall under fair use, and I'm super irritated because I really wanted to include some clips of him reacting to reviews of this book, which I find to be super immature, and I wanted to give my critique on his responses and just simply make the video transformative. However, because he's going around giving people copyright strikes like it's Christmas, blocking videos from all countries, I do not want to risk my channel that I just recently restarted and is going pretty well so far. I don't want to fall victim to that. I think it's not fair. It's totally cruel what he's doing. I believe Rebzion is going to take legal action against Onision for this, and I 100% stand behind him. I think it's about time someone does it because it's really unfair. I don't think he understands that his channel can be literally terminated for these false copyright strikes and false copyright claims. How are you on YouTube for like a decade and you don't know what fair use is? Because Onision's a moron. Originally, this video was going to include some clips of him responding to negative reviews and me debunking what he's saying and why he's wrong in every single way. But I really don't want to like risk putting even a second of his face in this video. So yeah, this is just gonna be a better version of my "This is why I hate you" video, so just no Onision clips. I'm sorry, but until this whole thing gets worked out and resolved, this is how it's going to be. But I'm still making Onision content, okay? Don't get it twisted. I'm about to hit, if I haven't already hit 2,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. I cannot believe how fast my channel has grown in just 2 weeks. I think it's insane. So go ahead and leave a comment down below. I plan on doing a Q&A, so if you want me to answer a question, feel free to comment it, and who knows, I may put your question in my next Q&A. Well, my first Q&A. My next video. My next video is going to be a Q&A. Thank you. Stones to Abbigale was Onision's first novel, and boy does it show. I will say that Stones to Abbigale is better than This Is Why I Hate You, but this is why I'm saying it's better. I'm not saying it's a great book because it's still a hot piece of garbage, and I hate myself for reading it. The reason I say it's better than This Is Why I Hate You is because the format. So I never pointed this out, and I plan on pointing it out in my This Is Why I Hate You live stream, which is happening because I have a date now. It is going to be happening May 9th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am super excited for this live stream, and I know a lot of you guys have been wanting details, so here we go. Sorry to just throw it in the middle of this video, but yeah. And if you missed it, it should be up on my channel, so watch that. It's super long. I know it's gonna be super long, but it's a fun time. Alright, I don't know that. I haven't filmed it, but I know it is. Okay, moving on. The format of This Is Why I Hate You is unbearable. So let me just open it to a random page, right? Do you see what's missing here? No? Yes? Where are the page numbers? There's none in this corner, in this corner, in this corner, in this corner, in the middle, nothing. There is no page numbers. The font is straight up Arial, and there's like no indentation either, and it's super messy. So I really don't like this format. And although Stones to Abbigale looks the same, the pages are actually numbered. So I don't know why he numbered this page, by these pages, but he didn't number these. Just because he's lazy. That's it. Once again, there's like no indentation. So the format in this book is just absolutely atrocious. But the pages are numbered. So you open the page and the first thing you see is an author's note. So let's read it, shall we? From the author. I want to be direct. My name is Greg. I go by Onision online. This book is made up of events that occurred in my own life mixed with the fiction from the made-up life of James. James is essentially a better version of myself. His home, his school, and his life all resemble my own at his age. The people James analyzes and is surrounded by are not unlike those I've known as well. I have experienced much of the loss James has, however, his happier moments are often than not also mine. I want to share my story without it being nonfiction. I'm just thinking about the book, and the book is laughable. At points, I cried while writing this. At others, I laughed. Stone to Abbigale is not just a book I wrote, it is a piece of who I am. Special thanks to Lainey, thank you for editing the first draft, and Erica for pointing out 2 word errors. Erica, sweetie, you did not do a good job because there are so many typos in here. This book, just like This Is Why I Hate You, reads like a first draft. And as a writer, I was offended while reading this. So as we just read, James is Onision. That is Onision. And This Is Why I Hate You, he gave the character that's pretty much himself the name Arthur. To which I said that Arthur is just his way of saying author, and the author of the book is Onision, and Onision is just using the name Arthur. James is Onision's middle name. Gregory James Daniel, I believe. And he really says himself that it's a better version of himself. Ladies and gentlemen, we got another Gary Still. So on this cover is Lainey, who went by Lainey at the time. Because it is Lainey, and it's so obvious that it's Lainey on the front and the back, I am going through this book with the mentality that it's Onision and Lainey. They are the main characters. She is the love interest and he's the main character. Let me tell you why. Guys, once again, there are no physical descriptions. Why is it so hard for you to just list physical descriptions from books? I'm like just baffled. This man doesn't know anything about does he know what adjectives are? So you go through this entire book and you don't know how any of the characters look like because he gives 0 descriptions and it's so hard. I read this book through an audiobook I found on YouTube, and I will leave a link in the description for anyone who wants to hear it. It's only about 3 hours long. Even so, I had to split the reading process in 2 days because it was just so unbearable. But I feel like the audiobook definitely made me go through this reading because it took me a little over a week to finish this, and it's shorter. It is shorter than, I don't know if you could tell, but it is shorter than Stones to Abbigale. Stones to Abbigale is longer, and I feel like the audiobook makes it a lot more interesting. So, description down below. Jordan Barclay did a great job reading this, and he definitely helped my experience and made this review possible. But anyways, there are no physical descriptions. I don't know how any of the characters look like, so I'm going in just imagining Onision with Lainey, and that was not a good experience, especially when he goes into detail about the sex scenes, but we will get to that. Yep, it's a young adult book, guys, and there is a detailed sex scene. God. Let me actually get into the plot of this book because, wow. We have James and we have Abbigale. James likes Abbigale. We don't know why. We don't know why she's so special, but he just really likes Abbigale. Abbigale is incredibly traumatized. He doesn't give us any information for us to be like, yeah, she may be traumatized and dependent on James, but that's her personality. Her whole personality is, I've been traumatized. I've been through so much in my life. Life is so hard. But James, you make it so much better. So they're in art class together, and James is looking over at Abby, and he's just like, oh, she's so beautiful. I really like her. And then it's announced that they have an art project that they have to do together. Not together because they were partnered up, but because Abbigale, for some reason, just really wanted to be with James. Why? We don't know. They've had absolutely no interaction with each other. James' crush on Abby is solely off physical appearance because they don't have any, and I mean any interaction with each other until for some reason Abbigale really just wants to be partnered up with James. So they get partnered up because James just gets everything given to him. He doesn't fight for anything. He doesn't work hard for anything. It's all just given to him on a silver platter. They also don't like Jason because Jason is a jock, and jocks, those are bad people. Jocks are not to be dealt with. They are all bad. Who cares if they spend countless hours and hours and pretty much accumulated days and weeks of their high school experience to be really good at this sport, this dream they're so passionate about. Because they're good at it, they are bad people. So they talk a little bit about the project that they have to do together. Abby gives James a little note. When he finally gets around to opening the note, all it says is "nice one," and it's spelled like this. So he's at home trying to figure out what could this mean? And I agree. I was like going through this, I'm reading and I'm like, what could this mean? And then he's like, aha, I got it. I cracked the code. He gets the phone, he dials "nice one" using the digits, and it's Abby's father who picks up. What do you want? And then she's like, just give me the phone, and it's Abby. He managed to get Abby's phone number through "nice one." What? Why couldn't she just write down the number? That could have given her a personality if throughout the whole book she's just using these nice little tricks, little secret codes, and he has to figure out what they mean in order to communicate with her. It'd give her some kind of like a mysterious element to her, you know, that way she has a fucking personality aside from just being traumatized. But this is the only instance, so I'm just like, this could have easily been replaced using a phone number. Why did she go through the trouble of trying to create a word using the digits of her phone number? Just write down your number! So for some reason, one of the teachers, he goes by Mr. Hanson, wants to talk to James about a TA position, a teacher's assistant position. You can argue that because we're still in the beginning of the book, there will be supporting details as to what would make him a good TA. So me reading that Mr. Hanson wants him to be a TA of his, okay, this is obviously going to have some supporting details throughout the book. No, there's not. He's just so great for some reason that he needs to be a teacher's assistant. The last TA moved, and yeah, you're not always on time, but you get your work done honestly and efficiently. Honestly. Honest. So he tries calling Abby, and he can't get through to her. And then there's some kind of fight. Mr. Hanson is the history teacher, and it is class time. And Jason comes banging on the door and saying like, hey, I got kicked out, because Mr. Hanson's like, what are you doing here? Why aren't you in class? Jason responded saying, got kicked out. What's up? Go stand outside your class till it's over, Mr. Hanson commanded. Jason rebelliously replied, don't tell me what to do, fatty. I could see Mr. Hanson was about to lose it, so I interrupted. No one wants you here, Jason. Mr. Hanson looked back at me with a look of surprise. He seemed shocked I would say anything on his behalf. I'm just trying to understand why Jason was banging on the door. Why aren't you in class? Got kicked out. What's up? So he just decided to go to this random classroom? And of course, because James spoke up, this resulted in a fight. Totally reasonable. Yeah, jocks, totally. They just decide to like break people's noses. Yep, they broke his nose. All because someone's like, can you leave? No one wants you here. And it's true. No one wants Jason. Why is he at this classroom? This whole scene is just kind of like, I'm James and I'm treated unfairly. Pity me. Because of this fight, Jason got suspended for 10 days, as opposed to James, who got suspended for 2 days. He keeps the TA position throughout the whole book, despite him, you know, like getting suspended at one point. Yeah, it wasn't his fault, But he still got suspended and it's on school records, so... We're at this part where the book is formatted like super weird. I don't know if you guys could tell, but this font size is ridiculously different. Okay, not ridiculously different, but it definitely dropped like a font size or two compared to the surrounding paragraphs. Like, do you see what I mean? Why is it like that? We are going to learn about Seth. And Seth honestly has no purpose in being in this book. And I must say that wholeheartedly, and this is why. I really wish I could include some Onision clips, but I can't. But basically, in a video, he decided to get mad because someone said that Seth was very boring. Because, spoiler alert, there is a school shooting. Yeah, there is a school shooting in this book. And Seth is a school shooter. And what I'm about to read to you is what causes the school shooting, because we have no other supporting details that will say otherwise. Abby breaks up with Seth to be with James. They've known each other for 2 days. 2 days. Onision, Seth is just a boring character. Seth is a plot device. That is all he is. He's just abusive and he shoots up a school. That is it. That is it. That is it. He has no personality. Why? Because he is a plot device. He cannot stand the idea of people saying that his characters are boring. James is boring because he's just perfect the whole time. Lainey, I'm sorry. Abbigale is boring because she's just traumatized and she's just dependent on James. Seth is boring because he's a plot device. The only character that really seems to have a personality in this book would be his best friend Davis, who is super weird and is only really there to just praise James and compliment him the whole time. And honestly, this is going to be like super vague, but frankly, I don't care about Davis. I do not like Davis. He's annoying. He's unlikable. He's just there to praise James. So when he dies trying to save this one guy from committing suicide, I don't care. I had no connection with this character. You want me to feel bad about him, about his passing, about him dying because he meant so much to you? I don't care. He was a bad character. And I know Onision loves to pull out the whole, oh, well, Davis was based off my friend who died in real life. I am not coming for the people that Onision knew in his real life. I'm coming for the character and how he presented the character. Let me get this off. I'm coming for the character because I do not care about the character. I do not like the character. Your character is unlikable. Get over it. Guys, I still need to read Reaper's Creek. Like, God. Anyways, James has a dream involving Abby, and apparently this sets him off so much to the point that he just decides to write her a letter, an email, I believe. Let me read you this letter and tell you my problems with it. When I look in your eyes, I at times feel a level of sadness I have never felt. As if we, despite barely knowing each other, because they've known each other for like 2 days, have been apart for far too long. When I talk to you, it's like I am listening to a voice I've ached for, yet I haven't heard in a lifetime. Every other experience I have with you seems familiar, but at the same time, it hurts. Like you would feel if you begged for something and only received it when you had already given up hope. These feelings are also strange and evolving at a rate that scares me, as they are for someone I am only just now truly getting to know. Even with my brief presence in your life, I've picked up on so much suffering and almost feel powerless to create any change. There are so many wounds, so many scars, so much I only know enough about to fear. I'm trying to understand. Abby, you have more pain in your life than I can imagine. I hear it in your voice, I see it in your eyes, and in the way you move. I just want to see you smile without there being... I almost made it through this whole letter without messing up. I'm actually upset. Without there being an ocean wall of tears behind your eyes. I want to hear everything you have to say. I want to find a way to heal the damage done until you can forget. it ever existed. If I were to get an email like that from some guy I just met 2 days ago, I am deleting and I am blocking and I am never talking to that guy for the rest of my school experience. It gives me such a white knight here to save the day. I feel like it's something from Reddit. r/nice guys or the neckbeards. Like, it's weird. It's uncomfortable. You're just gonna make all of these assumptions about my life and you expect me to be flattered? Well, it works because Abby's totally convinced and she's okay with it. When they finally meet up, she starts off by saying, like, do you think I'm broken? I don't need you. But then towards the end, it kind of makes it clear that she does need him. And throughout the whole book, she's so dependent on him. So a little later, we find out that James' mom has been dating this guy kind of in secret. And they're in talks about moving together. Like, the whole family moving in with this guy. His name is Rick. Spoiler alert, they decide to move in all together, but not all together. So the sister, Lisa, the mom, and Rick, they decide to move together to like the other side of the mountains. But James is gonna stay with Abby in this house, and Rick is gonna pay for everything. So the house or the rent, the insurance, the light bill, maybe water if they pay for water there. It's so unnecessary. Why? Just because they don't want to separate James and Abby, and it's kind of like, that is so unrealistic. Why? That is so unnecessary. They just met. It doesn't make sense. This book makes me want to scream. Yo, it's so bad. It is so bad. It's not realistic in the slightest. Can I just point out that Abby's father's abusive, and that's really it. He's only there for like a scene or two, and he's just like throwing stuff at Abby, but as soon as he hits something at James, the police want to get involved, and it's kind of like, why are you involved now? Why? Oh no, he hurt James. I don't know. I don't know why the police didn't care when it was Abby getting hurt, but when James gets hurt, they decide to like yeet on over there and protect James, and they get taken away. And James is like, you can live with me instead of, you know, I don't know, like a close family member. I don't know. And she's like, okay, so they live together in this house now, alone, and they're in high school. What the frick? I did it again with the formatting, like this paragraph, and then like this one. Like, do you see the different font size? Like, please tell me I'm not the only one seeing this. It looks so weird. Okay, guys, we know this is not an Onision book without a school shooting. As I already mentioned, Seth is the school shooter. Why? Because Abby left him. Abby left him to be with James, and I guess that's why he decided to shoot up the school, because there is no other information about Seth after the shooting that would allude, God, I can't talk today, that will allude to him being a school shooter. So it's like, we don't care. The only reason Seth shot up the school was because Abby dumped him, and he killed 52 people and injured 4, which would be the biggest school shooting in America to date if this were to really happen. The bad school disaster had a total of 44 deaths. This was back in 1927. Despite being the deadliest school shooting in America, James is totally like unbothered. Like, he really doesn't care about the school shooting. He's constantly pointing out people who are affected by it. Deadliest school shooting in America, 52 deaths. You could have died because you were there. trying to save Abby. Let me talk about this. So the school shooting is taking place and he gets off the bus despite everyone telling him not to. He gets off the bus because he knows Abby is still in the school. So he uses his roller skates that for some reason he's always carrying around, and he goes like scooting, like I keep saying scooting. He goes skating around the school, but there's too much blood, so he just ends up taking off the skates. He doesn't really do anything of value in this scene, but later in the book the president comes to the school to talk about the school scooting. Take a shot every time I replace any word with scooting unintentionally. Guys, I am so sorry. He promises to talk to every student individually, but he doesn't. He just kind of pops into classroom and answers like 2 questions. One of the questions was from James, and the question for some reason was, how do you handle with people that are constantly critiquing you? Huh? You have the president right in front of you and you just survived a school shooting. That's what you have to ask? But anyway, the president is like, James, the one who nearly saved the day. When in reality, the one who saved the day was Jason, who, although didn't kill Seth, beat him up till he was unconscious. But James is so great that despite him doing absolutely nothing in the school shooting, he gets praise from the president. And this is why I hate you. A school shooting was just used to have the main character, Arthur, have sex with his girlfriend one last time. I wish I was making it up. But in this book, it like goes throughout the whole entire book. Like after the school shooting, because the school shooting happens like pretty early in the book. I want to say like within the first 40 to 60 pages. And throughout the book, they're constantly referencing the shooting. This whole book is very, like, anti-gun. And I'm not about to get into politics and everything. But I feel like Onision isn't really one to talk about anti-gun just because he's crazy. And I feel like if anyone were to talk about a political stance like that, Onision's so unstable that I don't think he has a right to talk about that. I'm not going to go into detail about what I believe when it comes to guns. All I'm saying is Onision, I feel like, shouldn't be the one to talk about how bad they are. That the whole plot of the school shooting happened so early in the book, you would think that it's gonna be like following James and how he has to deal with the aftermath of the school shooting, and so does Abby, and so does Davis. No, we don't. All 3 of them are like pretty unbothered by the school shooting. Even though Abby was the ex-girlfriend of the school shooters. So Abby has been raped. Abby has an abusive father, has an abusive boyfriend, has a mom that's abandoned her, wanted to get an abortion, but the guidance counselor was totally against that. So for some reason, she has a guidance counselor against her. For some reason, everyone's against her. Why did Onision feel the need to give this character so much trauma? Because he likes traumatized girls, and that's it. That's really all I can say. It's a Gary stew, and he wants to save the day. So, hey you, Abby, don't be sad. Let me be in your life, and you will be okay. It's just super uncomfortable coming from Onision, and there's no character development. There's nowhere in the book where it's like, yeah, all of that damage I went through, that doesn't define me. I define me. And I am my own person, and I'm gonna make something of myself. No. She's just dependent on James the whole time for the happiness. And you shouldn't be in a relationship just because you depend on the other person for happiness. You should be happy with or without them. What Onision did in this book was make himself a character so he can enter this girl's life. That way she doesn't have to be so sad because she's just going to be so dependent off of him. That way she finally has a reason to be happy. I really don't understand why he felt the need to have this girl go through so much trauma. After the school shooting, they decide to give one of the teachers, one of the best characters of the book, Mr. Mack, who seems to be the only one who's an actual professional, because all the teachers, they're like super unprofessional. They put a video of Mr. Mack on projection of him literally in the hospital, covered in wounds and scars from the shooting, healing, to the entire school. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing, guys. I don't want to come across as insensitive, but it's so clear that Onision didn't put any thought into this. Like, in front of so many traumatized children, you're just gonna show this and be like, yeah, guys, I know that the school shooting was awful and a lot of you guys are still healing. A lot of you probably are in shock and you can't talk. So here's your teacher. He could have died. He didn't, but he almost did. But look at him. And this is why he almost died, because of something that happened at your school, a place where you're supposed to feel safe. I didn't mention an example of him being a Gary Steele that is actually pretty important. So for some reason, the guidance counselor thinks that he's so great and sees him as such a top priority that even though she has like multiple students in her office wanting like either condoms or advice, as soon as James walks through the door, she just disregards all of these people and just gives all of the attention to James. And I have to ask, why? Because he's a Gary Steele, and that's it. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about how Onision handles self-harm in this book and why it makes me super uncomfortable. So for some reason, Abby has to take a shower, but she wants to keep talking to James. So she goes into the shower and having a conversation with James while he's like sitting on the toilet, I'm assuming, or just standing against the wall. I don't know. And then she like opens up the curtain and she's like, look at me. I am broken. And she's like covered in scars. And he's just like, I still think you look good. And like kisses each scar. And I used to self-harm. So let's talk about this. Showing your scars to someone is something so very intimate. And the fact that she just decided to show James the scars despite them barely knowing each other. He's just like kissing each and every scar, and I'm just like, this is not Onision. Because the real Onision likes to make fun of people who actually self-harm and calls them stupid and selfish and morons and self-mutilating. He's just so insensitive when it comes to the topic of self-harm. So just imagining him kissing the scars of Abby makes me very uncomfortable, because I know that's not how he is, and I know his actual views on self-harm, and it's so apparent that he's pandering to his audience. He's just trying to come across like, I'm a good person. Self-harm is bad, and that doesn't define you, until you go on his videos and you see what his real views on self-harm are. When you show someone your scars, it's a big deal. Like, that's a whole new window of trust. It's not just something to be romanticized. It's a very big deal to people. It is clearly a piece of fiction, and Onision clearly did not put the research into what self-harm truly means to people who have gone through it and what revealing scars to people actually makes you feel. I believe the day after this happened, they like have sex, and oh my god, let me tell you the events that led up to sex, because this shit is comical. So while James is sleeping, Abby is next to him and like just writing down a lot of the stuff that she went through, and decides to give him the note the next day before class. The next day, James decides to open up the note in class, and Mr. Hanson, the teacher, is like, give me the note, James. You know there's no notes. So he just decides to use the bathroom, and instead of asking for permission, he just gets up and yeets out, and he reads the note in the bathroom, I believe. And in the book, she goes into detail about how she got raped and got pregnant and told Miss Robertson, and because of that, Miss Robertson really doesn't like Abby because she is so pro-life and she doesn't want Abby to get an abortion. So when Jason found out about the pregnancy, he beat her like until she ended up losing the baby. And because she lost a baby for some reason, because she's so mentally unstable, Miss Robertson decides to accuse her of aborting the baby anyway, and that's why she has such a bias against Abby. And he goes to Abby's classroom, just barges on in. Just imagine this, just imagine it. You're in class, you're writing down some notes, all while the teacher is talking over, emphasizing on her points. Someone barges through the door. It is Onision. Lainey is sitting in the back and looks up and is just like, James? He walks on over, picks her up, and makes out with her. Like she's not sitting down and leaning down. He's leaning down on her. No! She is picked up and wraps her arms, her legs around Onision, and they just start making out with tongue and everything. And all the students are like, ooh, ooh, and the teacher's like the only one like, this is so inappropriate. It is so unrealistic. And then they decide to just leave. They just ditch the school, and I'm just like, they ditched the school in like their third period PE class, so like 2 classes later, they decided to ditch school, and they just have sex the whole time. And let's talk about the sex in this book. A young adult book, and there are sex scenes. Look, I am not saying that you cannot have a book that's young adult with sex scenes in it. I feel like people like John Green and Stephanie Perkins, they handle sex in books really good. They don't go into detail about the sex. The writing makes it feel more like there is a connection more than they're just boning. In this book, he just like goes into detail about how the sex is. I'm not reading it. It makes me uncomfortable. But he's just going to detail about how the sex and how great he is at sex, and it's just super weird because these are like 15, 16-year-olds. What? You can absolutely be an adult and write a sex scene for kids, but it's the way you write it. You have to keep in mind this is a young audience, okay? They are not ready for the words penetration. They giggle at the word penetration. I giggle at the word penetration still, and I'm 21. Onision's audience is like 14, 15-year-olds, and they're really out here reading about how great James is in bed with Abby. Super uncomfortable. Also, apparently they just go at it all day. That sounds exhausting. I already talked about Davis dying. Frankly, I don't care about the character Davis. He does a lot of unfunny lines like, how can I turn that frown upside poopy poop? And he's just like, oh, there he is, James. He is here to save the day, which is like an actual line from the book. And I just don't want to talk about him. He's so unlikable. His lines are unfunny. He dies. I don't care. Moving on, James manages to fight for jocks and winning because Jason groped Abby's butt. This is towards the end of the book. We are approaching the end, ladies and gentlemen. Jason gropes Abby's butt, and James decides to fight him in the school parking lot, to which he faces like no consequences. And guys, this is like a TA position. He's still on that TA position. In case you forgot, there's like no scenes of him in the TA position. We just have to know he's a TA. It is revealed that the reason he was even a TA in the first place was because they really wanted him to run for school president. We don't know why, because he's shown absolutely no merit. There are no supporting details that show why he would be a good school president. I mean, he gets in fights, he gets into other people's business. I don't understand the appeal of him. He's such a Gary Stu. He gets everything given to him. They go on to say how school president in this school isn't like school president in other schools. How in this school, school president actually has some power. What power? We don't know. Anyways, the school burns down, and the school burns down, and the book ends with a great line, which is just James, and he just says, well, I guess this means I won't be running for president. Hey, editing Tatiana here, and I forgot to mention that Miss Robertson tried blaming Abby for the school shooting and tried blaming her because Abby told Seth that she wished everyone would disappear, which, what the fuck? The principal ends up firing her, and then she's the one who sets the school on fire. So yeah. Even though the school burned down, all of the students pretty much, like, they passed the grades, and They didn't have to do any extra work during the summer to make up for it like they usually would in, you know, a normal, everyday, realistic situation. They just passed all of their grades, so. And that's it. That's really Stones to Abbigale. I found out that Reaper's Creek, which is his third book, is also based off his real life. So I have to ask, does he have anything else to talk about? Like, is he capable of writing anything else? Is he capable of creating lives of other people that aren't his own? I genuinely want to know. Or is he just a narcissist? No, he's just a narcissist. Who am I kidding? Onision is a bad writer. Point blank, period. I did not like any of the characters in this book. It's just like This Is Why I Hate You. I did not like any of the characters. The title Stones to Abbigale doesn't even make any sense. Like, what stones? There were no rocks in this book. What are you talking about? The characters are boring. And Onision can't tell me I didn't read the book, because I did read the book and I just did a whole analysis of the book, so. Onision just can't handle criticism, and it's so apparent because he's blocking videos that demonstrate a negative opinion of him. He doesn't understand. How are you gonna be a public figure and get mad when people talk about you? What? Stones to Abbigale was garbage, just like This Is Why I Hate You. It was slightly better in the writing format, but overall, Onision's just a bad writer, and he should quit. He should quit. I do not like Onision if it wasn't apparent enough. I cannot stand that man. Every time I think about him, a part of me dies. I mean this in the nicest way possible, but I don't. He can disappear off this platform and I will be perfectly fine with that. And from what I'm seeing with all these false copyright strikes, and these are literal things he's doing, can literally get his channel terminated. He doesn't understand. He's really on like thin ice right now, and I know if his channel gets terminated, he's just gonna find a way to make himself the victim. I don't care. The first book was bad, the second book was bad, and the third book is probably bad as well. But yeah, that was it. That was my review of Stones to Abbigale. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for your support. Social media will be in the description down below. And don't forget to subscribe. I don't know what else to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.